Hello and welcome to One Trek Mind with me, Michael.
And me, Raptor.
And today we're going to be discussing the first two episodes of Starfleet Academy. Just as a side note, I do apologize for the lack of content. I've been in the process of moving to a new place, so it's been a little bit difficult for us to get everything all together. We did want to make sure that we covered these first two episodes. The next episode, there might be a slight delay, just depending on if I'm all settled or not, just so you're all aware.
Yes, real world things get in the way sometimes, but if we can't, I might do a video on my own just to tide us over in that gap. So, and obviously, happy 2026, everyone.
Yes, happy 2026. But let's discuss how we felt about these first two episodes. I'll say in broad terms how I felt about these first two episodes is I think it's all right. There's plenty of things I did not find enjoyable, but there's also plenty of things that I did. It's a very okay show thus far, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that both me and you came into this with lower expectations than perhaps we normally would, just off the back of Discovery, Picard, and Season 3 of Strange New Worlds, and the Section 31 film. I think we didn't have massively high expectations.
No, definitely not.
What we heard on the, of the build-up towards the show, we were both a little bit on the fence. And yeah, I was also a bit like you. I'm surprised. I'm not pleasantly surprised. I'm just surprised. It's not awful. It's fine. We aren't going to run through the episodes like we used to do last year. We're just going to discuss the episodes, but we might mention spoiler stuff. So if you haven't watched them yet, I would probably suggest you go and do that as we get more in depth to our discussion. So did we want to start with sort of what we like, what we don't like? Is that sort of structure we want to
sure.
go with?
I'll say right off the bat, one thing that I do like about the series thus far is the tone of it. It's very bright, optimistic, hopeful. It's all about like building a better future and having a little bit of
optimism.
Yes, but again, there's humor in here. There's more character already right off the bat than something like Discovery or I would even argue Picard as well.
We actually know the names of most of the people on screen at any one time, which is nice.
I even made a note of like how many times they would say the names of certain characters, and I feel like they intentionally are trying to make sure people like know the names of these characters, which is nice. Like again, I really enjoyed seeing the Doctor with his opera club and seeing Sam have her like little awkward moments and just the general kind of lighter tone to everything. It's really nice. I do quite enjoy that, especially when shows like Discovery and Picard were very dark and gritty and we're always focused on a new world-ending threat or this life-altering moment. This is a much more lower stakes kind of show, at least as of now, which I very much appreciate.
Yeah, for a show that's supposed to be about kids at school or young adults at school, it shouldn't be galactic universe-ending threats every week, which was one of my biggest criticisms with Discovery, is that it just felt that it was like the galaxy was always ending every other day. It gets just tiresome after a while. I agree with you, I like some of the characters I don't like. I actually want to talk about like the characters in the middle of the good and bad bits, because I think it's a good segue to the bad things.
Okay.
Talk about the characters. But yeah, I agree. I like how light and airy and well lit and bright and optimistic it all is. I think that's a really good thing. Something I think again both me and you did also enjoy was the fact that at least in episode 2, because episode 1 focuses primarily on the cadets getting to the school, episode 2 is technically the first episode where they're at the school. You do see them taking lessons, and that is exactly one of the things, many months ago we did a video on what we wanted to see see from Starfleet Academy. I want to see them taking lessons. I want to see these young adults actually educating themselves. That's the whole bloody point.
We'll see if the show continues down that route and gives us more of that. But in that second episode, we definitely did enjoy seeing them doing multiple lessons. You have a lesson with the Doctor, a lesson with Reno, a lesson with I don't remember the name of the Vulcan character, but he's
I don't
teaching.
think he was mentioned.
Yeah, he's teaching. I can't remember. I want to say it was something political.
I think he's teaching xenoarchaeology or something like that.
Yeah,
xenoanthropology. I think it was
something along those lines, and it was just nice seeing them in a classroom setting, as you said, actually learning things. Like, again, it's brief. They didn't spend like a full scene. It was more of a montage of them going through these different lessons.
But that's good enough.
Yeah, it is good enough. And it's nice to see them in an educational setting, which I was nervous about in that first episode because we did have, big, crazy ship-wide catastrophe happen. And I was like, oh no, hopefully this is not the norm for the show. And based off of episode 2, it seems like it's not. But again, we're only 2 episodes in. It could go either way.
Yeah, and I suppose that's one thing to say. It's like at the present time, we don't have very much to go on. So we are still, I think it's fair, me and Michael have been discussing this obviously all day, but neither of us are sold on the show totally. I think Michael is more sold on it than I am at the moment, but neither of us are totally convinced.
I was going to say, I'm not sold on the show, but I am, given what they've shown in the first 2 episodes, I'm game to watch more, which is kind of the whole point of a new show coming out. Like, that's what they're after, is getting you to get on board with watching more of it. And I'd say they succeeded for me in getting me to want more out of the show. But I, like you, I'm not sold on it. I haven't been convinced that this is going to be a good bit of Star Trek yet.
No. I mean, I would say another good thing they have done is they have begun to try to teach us about this time period, because obviously it is set in the 32nd century, which doesn't have a lot of lore, a lot of history behind it. We don't know really what this world is like, because Discovery again failed to really do that. So they have started in episode 2. They discuss basically the Betazoids coming back to the Federation and having the negotiations around that. So they've started to try to teach us about what actually is the wider galaxy like, which again was another one of those things I wanted the Academy to do, was basically make me give a damn about the 32nd century. As a long-time Trekkie who was there for Voyager and Enterprise and DS9 and TNG, if you want me to like this Star Trek show, you need to invest me in your time period. And Discovery failed to do that. So I think it's good that in episode 2 they have already started doing that, but they have a long way to go.
Yeah, and it's just a good start at the moment. Let's see if they keep that up throughout the rest of the season and the series as a whole.
It's clearly episodic as well, which I like.
Yeah, that is something I also am enjoying. In a world full of serialized shows, sometimes it's nice to have something genuinely episodic where you get to focus on different characters or different situations for that episode and then move on. But even still, it's somewhat serialized because you obviously have this Caleb character's ongoing quest to find his mother, which let's discuss that just a little bit later.
Yeah, I think we can discuss that with the characters.
Yeah, each of us has a pretty differing opinion on that storyline, and I'll get into why once we get there. But let's move on to what we found to be kind of in between good and bad here.
Fundamentally, for me, I think the biggest question is it doesn't quite scratch the Star Trek itch for me yet. And that comes with the wider question I've had of, like, who is this for? Because I feel like it's quite different to Picard and Discovery. So if you've gotten into Star Trek through those shows, I feel it's different enough that they might be put off from that. And I think if you're a veteran Trekkie, you were probably put off from Discovery and Picard and that anyway, so you probably aren't that interested in modern Trek. But even if you did give this show a chance, it's probably so different again that you probably, again, aren't really connecting with it. And I said this earlier on to Michael, am I just at that point where I'm so flipping old that TV aimed at what we have to call Gen Z now, I just don't understand? Is that my problem?
I'm not 100% sure, because I also am not exactly positive like which audience this is aimed at. Again, there's references in here to older Trek that, you know, hardcore Trekkies I'm sure would appreciate. And I also appreciate the fact that those references are not like the focal point of anything. They're kind of just here and there, and it's like, oh, I remember that, that's cool, and then, you know, moving right along. But I'm not sure the age range, which to me it seems this show is aimed at people about 18 to 25 years old. I'm not sure that age range of people want Star Trek, so I'm not convinced that this show is gonna hit the audience that they want with this.
Yeah, because like I said to you earlier on, this feels just like, to me, a live-action version of Prodigy. Down to the fact that certain characters heavily remind me of characters in Prodigy, and I'm not sure the Star Trek audience, which I think predominantly is older, particularly connects to that. I mean, again, at the same time, I said to you earlier, maybe I just don't understand these kind of shows, like, because to me this feels like the young adults in here are supposed to be 21.
Well, they're like between 17 and 21.
Yeah, but they kind of act like they're younger sometimes. So yeah, perhaps I just don't understand this type of show. I was never a big fan of, what was it, that one you were on about, 90120, whatever.
90210.
Yeah, I never saw that. I never watched Skins. I never watched High School Musical or whatever the rest of them were.
Degrassi. I love Degrassi.
Never watched that.
It's my guilty pleasure show. It's not a good show, but I loved it.
So again, maybe I just don't understand the sort of theme of shows like this, which I fully hold my hands up, if I don't understand it, that's fine. But as a long-time Trekkie, a veteran Trekkie, I suppose I question whether the show is going to be successful.
Yeah, I question it myself. Not even just the show being what it is, but the state of Star Trek right now, this whole merger with Skydance, like there's a lot of things that make me question the longevity of this show, which is unfortunate. But again, time will tell.
I think we need to talk about the characters.
Yeah.
Because I think this is where we have some quite different opinions and some quite different views, and it's obviously the characters that make or break shows like this.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's start with the adult characters, because I think we align quite well on that. Let's start with our Captain, Commandant,
Chancellor
Nala Akai.
I believe it's Ake.
Ake. The half-lanthanite, multiple centuries old head of the Academy. She is as unique as Helia is in Strange New Worlds. She has the same sort of I don't give a fuck, I'm 400 odd years old sort of energy to her.
Again, my broad opinion of the character thus far is she's pretty cool. I don't dislike her, I don't love her, but she's all right thus far. I did like that little bit in the second episode where she's walking around without shoes on, and they're like, you really should put some shoes on. And she goes off on this list of reasons why it's actually good to not wear shoes all the time. Like, it was actually quite entertaining. I did like that.
Balancing your electrons, and I just rolled my eyes so goddamn hard with that hippie pseudo-scientific nonsense.
I
but
like
she's
her
endearing.
enough. Yeah.
She's like Pelia. She's endearing for it.
She commands her space pretty well, I think. Like in that first episode where they've run into a big issue on the ship, I think she handles it pretty well as a captain. Like, she listens to the advice of others. She makes calls pretty quickly. She doesn't deliberate for too long or anything. So I think thus far she's all right. With one exception.
A teacher.
Yes, and she is a teacher.
She has a past as a teacher, which I was really happy to see, as I don't know if people know this. I am a trained teacher. I'm not teaching at the moment, but I have gone through teacher training. So I was really gratified to see an expert being promoted to a field where it makes sense. Because something I absolutely despise in at least the UK schools is how many head teachers are not educators. Most of them are like businessmen or management staff. They have no idea about education, but they're in the position of authority over schools, and it drives me nuts. So I was glad that an actual teacher is in charge of this school. Makes sense.
Yeah. I think the one thing I don't like about her character is how blatantly, I guess, biased she is towards the character of Caleb.
Which we'll get into when it comes to Caleb.
I do agree with you that it does seem like a conflict of interest, and it does seem like she's offering certain concessions to him that she probably wouldn't offer to anyone else, given the history that the two characters have. So it is a little... it's not great.
It's not great.
It could be worse. Again, I think there's it makes a lot of sense why she is giving his character as many chances as she does and is trying to do the right thing and everything. I totally get that, and I'm not against it. But from an outside perspective, I do feel like another teacher or different head to the academy would probably question that situation, and rightfully question
I certainly
that situation.
did. As the teacher in the room, I certainly was like, that's iffy. But we'll get to more about that in a sec. The Doctor, EMH,
He's great.
Comes back. He's fantastic. He is exactly the same as he has always been. He loves his opera. He's a bit of a curmudgeon. He's got a lot of sarcastic wit to him.
Terrible bedside manner, as always.
Terrible bedside manner. He's just... If you watch Voyager and then watch this show straight after, he doesn't change. And that's so good, because I feel like Star Trek has done a really bad job with legacy characters as of late. Looking at you, Star Trek Picard. I'm glad the Doctor has not been ruined.
I do hope he's changed somewhat, though, just given the fact that he's 800 years old or something along those lines. I hope that there is a bit more depth that they're going to go into with his character. He's obviously not a main character. Or, I mean, I suppose he is. I don't personally see them giving him his own episode, but I'd be pleasantly surprised if they do. But I do hope there is a little bit more depth to his character, like some lessons that he's learned over his extremely long lifespan. But it is very nice to see that he's the good old Doctor that we remembered and loved. So yeah, I'm a big fan of how they've done his character thus far.
And then the character I think we both think is just fantastic is it Thok?
Yeah, Thok.
Rock?
Absolutely love her to death. She is so good.
Part Klingon, part Jem'Hadar, almost drill sergeant, defaultly shouts at people. She's so funny, and again, just has a sort of drill sergeant mentality that reminds me of some of the old classic army shows on the UK television, like It Ain't Half Hot Mum. She reminds me so much of the drill sergeant in that, who just used to go around yelling at people.
I can't remember the specific line, but when she's talking to Sam, as she's potentially about to die, and she's like, I'm gonna need you to stop being so cheerful.
Oh, yeah, stop being so cheerful when I'm dying.
It was great. I really like her thus far.
And just to prevent it being in the comment sections, no, we don't give a flying fuck that she happens to be a female who's half Jem'Hadar. I think it's stated in the show that her father was the Jem'Hadar and the mother was the Klingon.
Yeah.
But regardless if it was the other way around, who cares? It's the 32nd century. Races can change. The Jem'Hadar don't have to be the same as they were back in the time of Deep Space Nine. So we don't care.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. And it's, given birth to a wonderful character that the both of us really like. So
she still feels like a Jem'Hadar or Klingon to me. She still has that sort of...
Oh, yeah.
Like, the very first time we see her, Caleb tries to smart-ass her, and she's like, get on the fucking ground, 100 press-ups right bloody now, you other student, put your heavy bag on his back and make him suffer. Straight away, she was the, I'm not taking any shit Klingon Jem'Hadar that we all know and love them to be, so...
Very much liked her.
Is there another adult character I'm forgetting?
Well, we have Braca, our main villain.
Ah.
Which I could not care less about, if I'm being honest.
Braca is a space pirate, and he acts like a space pirate.
Yeah, he's just very one-dimensional at this point, where he's just like, oh, I'm evil, and I do evil things, and it's sort of like, okay. Like, I hope that there is more to this character, because Paul Giamatti is a good actor, and I'd like to see him sink his teeth into something better than just, I'm evil and I do bad things.
It's strange having last seen him in the Downton Abbey film.
Yeah, it's quite a different role.
Mr. Braca is a bit of a non-character at the moment. He shows up for a few minutes at the start of episode 1. Is the main protagonist in episode 1, or antagonist, I should say. And then he isn't in episode 2, so yeah.
Not much to say about him just yet, but yeah. As of right now, not really feeling it. We'll see how it goes, though. I guess there's also, because it does say here that is a recurring character, there's Caleb's mom. She has a very little to do in these first 2 episodes. Again, I really like the actor. Tatiana Maslany is quite good, I think, and she does a good job with what she's given in that opening scene where she's torn away from her child. But that's it in terms of what we get with the characters, so there's not really much to say about that one just yet.
Yes, which brings us on to the students, and starting with who is obviously supposed to be sort of the main character, which is Caleb.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, but we get to that. Let's frame this. It's so for the show seems to be about him. Him and his mum end up separated after Braca does kill a Starfleet officer at the beginning of episode 1, and because he was doing it to get supplies for Caleb's mother gets caught up as an accomplice and sentenced to prison time, as well as Braca. Caleb escapes Starfleet, goes on the run, and that is sort of setting up the premise for the show, which seems to be Caleb reuniting with his mother.
And also becoming less disenfranchised with the Federation because of what happened to his mother. Like, it's clear that is the trajectory of his character, is he hates the Federation at the start and will learn to more than likely change things in his own ways while becoming a part of the system that he hates by realizing it's not everything he hates about it.
But at the present time, he's a bit of an arsehole.
Yeah,
he reminds me quite a lot of Dal from Prodigy.
Yeah.
He's arrogant, obnoxious,
egotistical.
So self-assured and egotistical. You just want to stab him in the eye sometimes to get him to shut up. I find it almost impossible to like his character at the present time, even if he has a problematic background and a past. He's just very unlikable. And this connects to what we were saying about Akai's connection to him. She's the one that sentences his mother to prison time and breaks up the family, so she feels guilty about it. She's the one that pulls him to come to the academy in the first place, and she's also the one kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt, but also a lot of leeway, access to stuff he shouldn't probably have access to as a cadet, and just speaking as a trained teacher, that sort of conflict of interest is pretty bad. So yeah, obviously I think that's a bit questionable from her.
Again, I think she's doing the right thing, or like at least what she believes to be the right thing to do here, and try to correct something that she views as a mistake, which I don't fault her for, but it does lead to a lot of questionable situations of like bias around her feelings toward the character. And as a teacher or professional, it is a little iffy, so I definitely get it. But I will say the character of Caleb does speak to me on like a very personal level, and I'll get a little personal about it, I don't care. Me and him have a very similar backstory where at a very young age, we're separated from our mothers who are sent to a prison. And so for that reason, that opening scene got me very emotional, like genuinely emotional over that situation. And it makes me understand his character and his need to find his mother so much. So I really get it. But it doesn't change the fact that I don't like him. I feel like his personality is just really grating at the present time. So it's tough. On one hand, I really feel for the character. He speaks to me on a personal level way more than I expected, but I also don't like him. Well, let's move on to another character. We also have Jaden Krag, or Krog.
Our Klingon.
I really like him thus far. We haven't gotten a whole lot with the characters, so I can't speak too in depth about the character itself, but just on a surface level, a Klingon that wants to study medicine and do no harm and is interested in bird watching and stuff. I'm like, I really jive with the character. I think he's cool.
Yeah, he's the only character that I probably can't describe with one word, which I feel all the other students are kind of cliche, stereotypical characters, but him, he's a bit different. And I said this earlier on, I kind of feel that he might be sort of the analogy for want of a better term, queer character, but I would say like the character who is very, 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 very different to his society and societal pressures. He's not the usual normal, for want of a better term, Klingon. Mm-hmm. So I don't know whether that's just me reading into it or not, but that's what it seems to be to me. I do wish he would talk a bit louder. Sometimes when he's speaking, it's really difficult to hear what he actually says because he's very soft-spoken, which is probably being done again to highlight how not Klingon he is, or is not typical Klingon. But it also means that sometimes you can't hear what he's saying, or at least I find it very difficult to.
No, I actually agree. There are some moments where I'm like, could you repeat that? You just speak up just a little bit more. I didn't catch that.
No.
But then we also have Sam, what is her full name? Ceres
Acclamation Mill.
Yes.
She's a hologram, essentially. Not in the Starfleet sense. She's a photonic being that comes from another organization. She's only 4 months old, I think she says, but she's been programmed to act like a 17-year-old. She is, if I was to use a single word, the quirky character. She's very much like Tilly in the first few seasons of Discovery.
Which is one of the reasons I like this character, because I love Tilly, and I love quirky characters.
And one of the reasons I find it difficult, because I don't really like characters like that, because I feel it's exaggerated sometimes. Just judging on how she is in episode 2, I think her and the Doctor are going to be the sort of pairing up for future sort of minor story details and things. I mean, it makes sense too, given that she's a hologram like him.
She clearly idolizes the Doctor as well. She recognizes him right off the bat and gets very excited to meet him. And I believe actually joins his opera elective, so that should be fun to see where that goes.
But again, we haven't had much with her yet, apart from her massive optimism rubbing people the wrong way. Next we have Darum, who is a Keonian, who is our, again, if I was to describe with one word,
the bully.
He's the bully / other dickhead character to match Caleb, so that they can have token conflict in a high school drama-ish way. But he's a really cool looking alien when he is not looking like a human. He's like this blue-skinned, it's not even blue, it's like a purpley skin color, and he can survive in the vacuum of space for like 8 minutes, and he's like really interesting as an alien race. But he just looks like a human most of the time.
I was gonna say, it's really frustrating that they've chosen to have him just be in this like human form all the time, Because as soon as they showed him as his alien self, the both of us said at the same time, like, I wish they would just do that permanently and have him just look like that. But again, I have a feeling they may be going for some kind of shame the character feels at how he looks, and there may actually be a story reason for him choosing to look human as opposed to what he genuinely looks like. So I'll reserve some judgment on that for later down the line, see if they actually do anything with that or not.
Yeah.
But as far as the character goes, he's an asshole and I don't like him. He's like super cocky, and his "I'm a Kionian bitch" line was really cringy. And it just turned me off of the character like 100% the moment he said it.
Yep. And we have then Genesis, who is, again, a bit like Prodigy. She's basically Gwyn. She's the completely calm, has everything arranged, like just the mature character.
She's okay from what I've seen.
The
thus
obvious
far.
love interest for Caleb, or romance interest,
or one of them, because we also have Terima, who we'll talk about later. And yeah, I feel like she's okay. Like, I don't dislike the character, I don't like the character. She's just all right thus far. We haven't really got a whole lot with her character as of yet. The only thing we really know about her is that she's the daughter of an admiral, so she's a little more familiar with Starfleet and kind of the regulations and what is expected of her than some of the other characters. But as of right now, she's cool. Like, cool enough. She's just all right. I don't really have much else to say about her.
No.
We also have, as I just said, Terima, our Betazoid character, who is the other obvious love interest for Caleb. She's also another one at this point. We haven't gotten a whole lot with her, like a decent amount in the second episode, but again, I feel like she's just all right as of now. I'm somewhat interested in what they're going to do with this whole heightened Betazoid ability that she has, because she has to wear this neural inhibitor.
Her telepathic and empathic capabilities are so strong she can harm people with it, which could be interesting.
Basically the exact opposite of Deanna is kind of how I view this character. Like, you have one who has very limited Betazoid abilities. This one has like overpowered, supercharged Betazoid abilities. So I'm curious to see what they do with all that. The one thing I do really like about the character is I feel like they nailed kind of what a Betazoid is like, which is very empathic and open and in touch with feelings. So I think they nailed that pretty well, at least in her introduction. So again, we'll see what they end up doing with her character. As of right now, she's all right.
But then I think this leads us to what we think is not necessarily so good. I'm going to go off the bat with this. We've already had it not so much in episode 2, but definitely in episode 1. We've already had these completely untrained young adults / kids save the ship and accomplish stuff that the adults can't do, which was something I really didn't want the show to do. I want these kids to feel like they are educating themselves. They shouldn't be capable of being better than the adult characters.
Just right off the bat.
Right off the bat. And in episode 1, they succeed in saving the life of Thok with absolutely no training or knowledge or understanding. Caleb saves the ship through some sheer dumb luck, Deus Ex Machina fuckery. I get it that these kids are supposed to be the main characters, but again, you're supposed to be kids at school. You're there to learn. You're not supposed to already be in a situation where you can achieve stuff better than other characters. I mean, there was that fight between Caleb and Braca, and yeah, he lost it, but he lost it pretty well. Like, he was holding his own for a bit there. Like, he wasn't like instantly defeated, which I suppose makes sense for his hard life. But again, it doesn't feel like these kids are kids at the very start of their Starfleet training.
I can mostly agree with that, and I feel like a way they could have done it better in this first episode is they each try to solve the situation in that first episode, and each one of them fails in their own unique way that they have to then overcome as the show goes. It would have been kind of nice to see Caleb be like, oh, I'm the one who knows how this programmable matter works. Let me try and fix it. And then his solution fails, and then the adults in the situation manage to solve the situation, and he realizes, oh, maybe I do have a thing or two I could learn from these people. But instead, he kind of comes out cockier than he was before, like, oh, I've saved your asses. So I agree. I feel like it could have been done in a different way, and still had our main characters feel somewhat competent.
And like I said earlier, sometimes it feels that these young adults are actually less mature than they really should be, because the show seems to be trying to go for like a high school drama when this is supposed to be a professional semi-military or semi-militarized academy for university-aged students. So I didn't particularly like that.
Yeah, some of the high school drama-y moments, specifically between Durham and Caleb, were just annoying and
very cliche as well.
Yes.
Like when they were going to get their room assignments, me and you both guessed he's going to be with the bully, and there he was.
Yep.
Like, it isn't bad, but it is very cliche, and you can practically write some of this stuff yourself, just knowing what's happening. And again, we're only 2 episodes in, so they've got plenty of time. I say plenty of time. They've got 8 further episodes to prove us wrong, but at the moment, it does seem like the high school drama stuff is just the standard cliche stuff you would come to expect.
It's going to be down to a matter of taste for a lot of people, because I watched a lot of Degrassi and Skins, and I am okay with like high school interpersonal drama storylines. I'm just not sure if I like it in Star Trek specifically. And what has been presented here has been very predictable and stereotypical, so it's not exactly wowing me in any regard. So I as of right now, it's one of the weaker parts of the show for me, is this college drama shit that they're doing. And I suspect it's going to continue at least somewhat throughout the show. At least this first season. I'm just hoping it's not too prominent. Which, to be fair, in these first 2 episodes, it's not like the main thing that's happening. It's not super prominent, but when it is there,
they're not doing
really
it as much as we thought they would, are they? Like, again, we had low expectations, but they're definitely not doing the high school drama stuff as much as I expected. It's just, do I want this in my Star Trek show? Probably not.
But again, we'll see how they proceed with this in the remaining episodes. Like, how much more into the high school drama are they going to go? And if they do decide to go more into it, will it be a little bit more original than what we've seen thus far?
Episode 2 is one that I think both me and you quite heavily disagreed on, because I think it does some stuff which I think was pretty bad given current political climate, and you were less about that. Basically, the Betazoids are negotiating to rejoin the Federation, which for some reason they decide to do at the Academy to get the kids involved in negotiation.
Which is a decision I really liked, because again, I think we absolutely should be getting our younger generations involved in what their futures are going to entail.
But, I'll just put it to you in blunt terms, and you guys in the audience, see if this sounds familiar. They've been isolating themselves behind a wall in space, and they've been forced to de-isolate themselves, and they're coming to negotiate, and they show up to negotiations with frankly unreasonably excessive demands, demanding protection and territory and other things. And then at the end of the episode, Starfleet gives them Starfleet HQ on Betazoid almost as, in my opinion, a bit of an appeasement bribe. And given the current political climate, it did rub me a little bit the wrong way as a kind of, it just hit a few concerns for me.
For me, it was less so, because I feel like that is kind of just the nature of politics, is learning when to compromise certain things within reason, hopefully within reason. And in this case, they're presented with this frankly ludicrous idea that the Beta Z representatives can veto whatever they want, and there's no way to like check that power, which I think if both of us heard that and went, what the hell?
Yeah,
like,
we were
that's
both,
crazy.
When we heard that, we both went, what?
But what they end up giving them in return, having the headquarters be on Beta Z, I think is a very reasonable thing to do. It's kind of nice that the headquarters are no longer going to be on Earth and be like human-based, considering the Federation and Starfleet is so much more than just its human counterpart.
Yeah, it's just a shame that that comes at the end of an episode where they've already been presented as being quite intransigent, and it ends up feeling like a bribe or appeasing a curmudgeonly difficult political leader, not mentioning anyone in particular terms. And it ends up feeling like it's a bribe as opposed to something a bit more genuine.
Which I think is fair to see it that way. I'm actually curious if, like, what are your guys' opinions of that situation? Did you get to the end of episode 2 and feel like it was a bribe, or did you get to the end of episode 2 and felt like that was politics well done, or somewhere in between? Like, I'm genuinely curious because me and Raptor here have a pretty disparate
we do.
View of that situation. So again, I'm very curious to see what you all think.
I mean, that might be because of a difference in where we come from. I mean, I'm a UK guy, so to me, appeasement policy of any sort is the demon. You know, Churchill's anti-appeasement policy of World War II is the one that's held up as this great thing to have done, and Chamberlain, who was the guy that got off the plane waving the piece of paper saying peace in our time, giving Mr. AH everything he wanted, is vilified as the bad guy. And that's pretty much driven into every British school kid. So potentially it could just be a difference in our education and sort of where we grew up.
It could be, because again, I view politics as a whole to be nothing but appeasement policies one way or another. Just depends on...
Which is probably true.
Yeah, but I mean, just depending on what the appeasement is, I think determines whether it should be vilified or not. And in this particular case, putting Starfleet headquarters on Beta Z, I think that's perfectly fine. So again, I'm really curious to see how other people viewed that situation. So please comment down below how you felt about it.
And I mean, I wouldn't say actually, apart from these things we've discussed, the show has done anything like outrageously bad.
Yeah, no, I don't
think
so either.
There are certain things that I think are annoying.
The one thing that I think was bad, like truly just should not have been written into the show, should have 100% been cut out, was I'm a Kionian bitch. Really, really despised that. Like, I thought... I haven't cringed that hard from watching a show in a while, cringy. So I really, really think they should have not done that. That's probably the one thing in these 2 episodes where I was like, that was bad, genuinely bad. Everything else ran somewhere into the it's okay territory to it's pretty good.
Yeah. And I mean, I have some other issues with like just the premise of it seems to be that they're going to take cadets out on the starship into space for some lessons, which I think is iffy, to say the least. And as a teacher, I've definitely highlighted some problematic teaching styles going on. But generally, I think overall, we are both surprised that it wasn't awful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's still got a long way to go to
actually win us over.
And I suppose that's the sort of question. Once we get to the end of this series, I suppose the question is, do we want more of it? Because if, and like I said to you earlier, if the channel wasn't here, and if watching Star Trek with you wasn't here, and if Jesse Gender hadn't already said give it till episode 5, I probably wouldn't be watching any more of this after these first 2 episodes. Not because it's awful, but because it's just not my kind of Star Trek show. A bit like Stargate Universe was for me. It's not a bad Stargate show, it's just not my sort of Stargate show.
Just not my cup of tea.
Same as I'm one of these weird people that kind of likes the original Battlestar Galactica a bit more than the reboot, even though the reboot is great. I do have a special place in my heart for the original. So yeah, I probably wouldn't be watching more of this after season 2 if episode 2 if it was just on my own choice.
And I'm different in that I probably would give it some more, because even though it hasn't won me over, it has intrigued me into what they're going to do with these characters and this setting. So even without this channel or watching it with you, I probably would give it at least a few more episodes before drawing a line in the sand. So yeah,
there is potential here. I mean, I would definitely say that. There's a lot of potential in the sorts of characters they've got, the sort of setting that they've introduced. Definitely potential, but there's also potential for it just to become not good. And that, I think a lot of that is based around what they do with Caleb. In a bit like how Prodigy, it was Dal's story, and it was kind of his persistent ego and obnoxiousness, which kind of got grating after a while. Caleb really has to evolve in big meaningful ways, because if he just stays like this for the next 3 episodes, I'm just gonna not give a damn. That's the thing for me. He's got to they've got to get on with these character arcs, because they haven't got many episodes to do it in. So they got to get moving.
Yeah, they got to get moving. I would say I'm in the same boat as you. Like, what they do with Caleb is going to really determine how I feel as a whole about the show, considering he is pretty much our main character. So we'll see. Again, I was surprised by this show not being dead awful and actually being pretty good in some regards. So I'm definitely willing to give this one a shot and see where it goes.
Yeah, let us know down in the comments what you guys think. If you have taken the chance to watch the first 2 episodes of Starfleet Academy, I suspect perhaps not a lot of people have, just because of where Star Trek is at the moment. But if you have watched it, I would really like to know what your thoughts are down below, especially about what I thought about the characters, and also episode 2 and whether it's appeasement policy or just good politics. I'm really curious to know what you guys think. And like I said, there might be a little bit of disruption just because of real life stuff going on. But if we can't do another video of both of us, while that's going on, then I might just do a video on my own about something. I might do a battle breakdown on something, which I've wanted to do for a while. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Make sure that we can keep doing what we're doing. And aside from that, I think that's going to be it from me.
And it's goodbye from me.